While I was thinking of all this, I heard my name called. It was my turn to recite. What would I not have given to be able to see that dreadful rule for the participle all through? Very loud and clear, and without one mistake. But I got mixed up on the first words and stood there, holding on to my desk, my heart beating and not daring to look up. I heard Monsieur Hamel say to me, "I won't scold you, little Franz. You must feel bad enough. See how it is. Every day we have said to ourselves, bah, I have plenty of time. I'll learn it tomorrow. And now you see where we have come out. Ah, that's the great trouble with Alsace. She puts off learning till tomorrow. Now those fellows out there will have the right to say to you, how is it? You pretend to be Frenchman and yet you can neither speak nor write your own language. But you are not the worst, poor little France. We have all a great deal to reproach ourselves with. Your parents were not anxious enough to have you there learn. They preferred to put you to work on a farm or at the mills, so as to have a little more money, and I have been to blame also. Have I not often sent you to water my flowers instead of learning your lessons? And when I wanted to go fishing, did I not just give you a holiday?" While Franz was thinking of all this, something happened. What did happen? Do you know? Okay, let's discuss. The teacher said, or teacher asked Franz to recite the rules of participles. That too, in a clear manner, without any mistake, very loud. Franz was expected to be present. So Franz just stood up from his place, and you people know that he did not learn a single word. Anyhow, he just stood up and he started giving the rules, but he got mixed up. He was not able to say a single rule. And he was really afraid what the teacher is going to say or how the teacher's reaction would be. But nothing happened. In a soft voice, Monsieur Hamel said, "I won't scold you, Franz. Now you just see. This is the mistakes of students. You people may think that you have plenty of time to study. But now you just see that everything gone. You people leave the things for tomorrow. I have plenty of time. I can learn tomorrow. Like that way you postpone things for tomorrow. And tomorrow never comes. Now you just see that the Germans, they just imposed the rules that in the provinces of Alsace and Lorraine, you could not study your mother tongue, that is French. You're going to learn another language. And now, you can neither speak or write your own language or your mother tongue. Why? Because you people postpone things for tomorrow. And here, my students, we know that this is the nature of our students, and you people also, when I was young, and even I also did the same thing. What is it? We used to think that we have plenty of time for studying, okay? And okay, tomorrow I can do. Like that way we used to think and leave the things for tomorrow, and that tomorrow never comes. And when we just lose all the time, and that time only we just realized the opportunities it came to us, okay? So here you must think one thing: whenever the opportunity or the time comes, you must accept it or you must start doing everything. Understood? Why? Because the lost time never be regained. Okay? So it's very important. So the teacher said that, Franz, you just thought that you had plenty of time to study and now you lost all the chances. Now neither you speak or write your mother tongue, and now next day onwards you are going to learn another language. And after that the teacher added that, Franz, I am not blaming you. Okay? I means you only, not to you, just some other persons also are responsible for this. And he started speaking like this: your parents are to be blamed first. Why? because parents were least bothered about to send you to school. Instead, what they did not ask you to go to school regularly. Instead, they just send you for work. Means that background was very poor. Almost all the students' background were poor. So the parents sent the children for work to find a livelihood for them. Okay. So many of the days you missed the school and you just went to the sawmill or the field for work to find money for your family. And not only your parents, I just have been blamed to myself. Why? Because Mr. Hamel was the only teacher in that school, and whenever the teacher, myself, I just wanted to go for fishing, I just dismissed the school or I cancelled the class. Or sometimes while teaching, I asked some students to go out and water my plants. Like that way also I did. And whenever I just want to go for fishing, I just used to give you a holiday. So we all together should shoulder the responsibility. Students postpone the things for tomorrow and you never give importance to your studies. And the parents send you for work and they just wanted to find money for livelihood. At the same time, me as a teacher, I also had given you many holidays for my own personal things. So these three categories should shoulder the responsibility, and now the order had come, and you people, what happened to you people? And you cannot write or read your own mother tongue. That is really a pathetic situation, like that way the teacher said. Then, from one thing to another, Mr. Hamel went on to talk of the French language, saying that it was the most beautiful language in the world, the clearest, the most logical, that we must guard it among us and never forget it. Because when a people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they had the key to their prison. Then he opened the grammar and read us our lesson. I was amazed to see how well I understood it. All he said seemed so easy, so easy. I think too that I had never listened so carefully and that he had never explained everything with so much patience. It seemed almost as if the poor man wanted to give us all he knew before going away, and to put it all into our heads at one stroke. Mr. Hamel's patriotism is reflected in his praise of the language as being the most beautiful and logical language in the world. He says that French is the most beautiful and logical language in the world. In this praise of the language, we could understand that it reflects his patriotism. Okay? And he just asked the students to keep their own language, or they must protect their own language. Why? Because our own language is the key to escape from the prison of slavery. Okay? And now my students, here is the relevance of that question when I asked in the beginning. Do you think the political enslavement is a curse on any nation? Do you agree? Here is the answer for that question. Yes, here is the political enslavement. It's imposed, which is imposed on French people. Okay, that is in the provinces of Alsace and Lorraine. What happened there then? The children, even the students, were unable to learn their own mother tongue, that is the French language. So really, now we could understand that political enslavement is a curse on any nation. Agreed? Okay. Now, the teacher started taking lesson. Mr. Famel just reads the lesson. And now, Franz was amazed to see that everything, whatever the teacher said, each and every word, it was very easy for him. So easy, he could understand them well. And he just started thinking that for the first time, he was that much attentive in the class. And the second thing why he understood the topic well, because the teacher was very patiently, he was just explaining the topic. For the first time, that much patience he just took and then explained everything clearly. And now, Franz felt sorry for the teacher and he just started thinking that poor teacher, tomorrow he's going to leave from this school. So before leaving that, whatever he just knows, everything he wanted to explain to the children. Why? Because next day onwards, neither the teacher or the students would never get the chance to learn the language, the most beautiful and logical language, that is French. After the grammar, we had a lesson in writing. That day, Monsieur Hamel had new copies for us. Written in a beautiful round hand, France Alsace, France Alsace. We looked like little flags floating everywhere in the schoolroom, hung from the road at the top of our desks. You ought to have seen how everyone set to work and how quiet it was. The only sound was the scratching of the pens over the paper. Once some bleeds flew in, but nobody paid any attention to them, not even the littlest ones, who worked right on the tracing their fish hooks, as if that was French too. On the roof of the pigeons cooed very low, and I thought to myself, will they make them sing in German, even the pigeons? After grammar class, the teacher had given a written assignment, and for that he had given new cards for them. In that card it was written France Alsace, France Alsace. So the children were asked to copy this. Everyone started writing, and the card which was written Alsace, France, with a beautiful round handwriting. And the children just started writing, and there was a perfect silence in the class. Only we could hear the sound of scratching the pens over the paper, and once a beetle came inside the class and it made a buzz sound, only we could hear that sounds. And everywhere it's perfect silence, and children just started writing, okay, the assignment. And after that they just started waving the cards, and it looks like a flag, okay. And France just saw a pigeon, it was sitting on the roof. And France started thinking that now this woman, okay, at present also these pigeons were cooing in French. Means that we people know that in our place any bird or animals are there, if they bark or make any sound, we people think that they are also using our own mother tongue. Am I right? Same like that, that moment France started thinking that the pigeons cooed in French, and tomorrow onwards will the German ask them to coo in German. Like that way he just started thinking, and now he just thought himself that it's not possible to take away one's language from them, because that is their identity. Why these people are doing so? We have the right to protect our own language, so cannot be taken out the language from us. Whenever I looked up from my writing, I saw Monsieur Hamel sitting motionless in his chair and gazing first at one thing, then at another, as if he wanted to fix in his mind just how everything looked in that little schoolroom. Fancy, for 40 years he had been there in the same place, with his garden outside the window and his class in front of him. Just like that, only the desks and benches had been worn smooth, the walnut trees in the garden were taller, and the hope vine that he had planted himself twined about the windows to the roof. How it must have broken his heart to leave it all, poor man. To hear his sister moving about in the room above, packing their trunks, for they must leave the country next day. But he had the courage to hear every lesson to the very last. After the writing, we had a lesson in history, and then the babies chanted their ba bee bee bo boo. Down there at the back of the room, old Hauser had put on his spectacles and, holding his primer in both hands, spelled the letters with them. You could see that he too was crying. His voice trembled with emotion, and it was so funny to hear him that we all wanted to laugh and cry. Ah, how well I remember it, that last lesson. While Franz was writing, he just looked up and looked at the teacher's face. That time, Monsieur Hamel was motionless. He was just sitting on a chair, but he was not able to fix his views. Okay, he was just looking here and there, and the different expressions came to his face. Means that Franz realized he was thinking something else. Okay, and actually now Monsieur Hamel was really under pressure. Why? Franz realized that he knows the teacher who had been working there for the 40 years, and when he came and settled this little garden or little school there, and that time he planted many plants. At the same time, these all plants, it became taller now, and now we could see a lot of trees there. And even the hope vine also he just planted there, and now the hope vine became twinned and it just came through the windows and all. Now we could see a beautiful vine over there. And now Franz could hear a sound outside, that is by Monsieur Hamel's sister. She was packing the trunk for them, okay, because next day they are going to about to leave. For that purpose, she was just packing the things. And now Franz realized that from the face of the teacher was really under pressure, and it could be there. Okay, why? Because for the 14 years he was bound with the nature as well as with the students. Okay, now another thing was there. Even teacher was under pressure, I told you. Then also he had the patience or the courage to listen to the lessons given by the children. And now, after writing assignment, teacher started taking the class of history, and there teacher pronounced some words, ba, bee, boo, bo, like that words, okay? And all the babies, means that the students started repeating the lesson. Even the old people, those who were sitting at the back also just repeated the lesson with the teacher. Old Hauser, in the beginning we learned about a person, old villager. Old Hauser, he also started repeating the words, okay, with his trembling voice. And when the other students listened to that trembling, shivering voice of the old Hauser, ba, bee, boo, like, okay, the children actually, they just wanted to laugh and cry, okay, because you know that when we just hear some unusual noise and all, we people want to laugh. Here, they just wanted to laugh, but also they just want to cry. That was the situation. Why? Because that is the last class. And now Franz says, how well I remember my last lesson. All at once the church clock struck 12. When the angels, at the same moment, the trumpets of the Prussians, returning from drill, sounded under our windows. Monsieur Hamel stood up very pale in his chair. I never saw him look so tall. My friends, said he, I. But something choked him. He could not go on. Then he returned to the blackboard, took a piece of chalk, and bearing on with all his might, he wrote as large as he could. Vive la France. Then he stopped and leaned his head against the wall, and without a word he made a gesture to us with his hand. School is dismissed. You may go. All these things were happening inside the class. The clock struck 12. That was the allotted time for French language. The time was 12 o'clock. And now the students, they could hear the sound of Prussian soldiers. They just came after their drill or parade and could hear the drums or their trumpet sound, okay. Now they are just going to occupy the space, okay. So that was the allotted time. Now the teacher came to know that obviously he just wanted to leave now. So he just stood up from the place and wanted to tell something to the students. He started speaking, I. But he was not able to go on. He just paused there with emotion. He was unable to speak. Okay, so what he did not continue. Instead, he just took a piece of chalk and written something on the board. What was it? Vive la France. The meaning of the word is live long France. Okay, what is it? Live long France. and the teacher wrote this on the board, and he did not face his children, okay, because that was the last time he is going to meet them. With that thought, what he did, he just turned towards the board only, and he did not face them. Instead, he just only waved, showed some gestures to the students, means that the class is dispersed, you may go. That was the gesture, okay. So he was filled with emotion, unable to talk or communicate with his children because that was his last class. So with that emotion, what he did, he just turned towards the board and did not face the children, and simply he showed some gestures or some action. That action means that class dispersed, you may go. Here we end the last lesson. This is not our last lesson, we only begin. So, listen children, through this lesson we came to know the different feelings or emotions of the teachers, students and the villagers, others, so on. So, they just realized that if we just lose a chance to get something important in our life, how it would be, okay? When they just realized that time only, they just came to know the importance of that particular thing, that is their mother tongue or learning something. So here also in our life, if we lose something, that time only we realize the value of it. So here, why this lesson, the last lesson is given as first lesson? Why? Do you know the answer? Yes, of course. Why? Because you students should think that if you lose something in your life, the valuable, the precious thing, and you come to know that you will be never getting it back, that time you should realize the value of it, okay? So in the beginning itself, you should have that thought. Then only you just start working on it. So the message, the writer Alphonse Dori wanted to give you the message, the first message is procrastination. The word procrastination means action of delaying or postponing something. We used to postpone things for tomorrow. That is known as procrastination. So, here the message is that students used to postpone the things for tomorrow, and they used to think that we have plenty of time to do things, okay? And when they miss that chance or the time, then only they just realize that how precious time was. Or time is. That is the one message. And the second message is that it is very important to learn language or learn something. Okay, we should be educated. Why? Because that education is the key to escape from what? Political slavery. Okay, so if we are literate, sure, we can escape from political slavery. Okay, that is the next message. These two messages only I am just giving, but more are there. That is your responsibility. What other messages you could draw from this lesson, that you have to find out and write it in your notebook. Okay, my dear children, this is the end of last lesson. Okay friends, this is for today's class. I'll meet you with a new lesson. Thank you for being with me.